That was silly, ridiculous, a waste of time. They didn't want. That's why they were so successful. That's why they got away from it.
I've made a living in a very dangerous.
This is really an integrated blue society.
Dianne Andrews in black and white.
Thanks for tuning in to Dianne Andrews in black and white. I'm your host, Dianne Andrews. We appreciate your viewership. I've been doing this about going on 9 years now. I meet a lot of people who tell me thank you. In fact, I was in a store the other day, and it happened to be a black woman, and she said, "You do a TV show, huh?" I said, "Oh, should I answer or shouldn't I answer?" And that's not about her being black, but I know a lot of people's views are not the same as my views, being a conservative. And she said, "I watch you every Sunday. I really like what you're doing out there." I also want to give a shout out to Alvin Miles, I think it is. He's an attorney in Plaquemine, Miles and Miles law offices over there. I was at the Y Saturday, and I asked for some help with a machine. And he said, "Do you still do your TV show?" I said, "Yeah, I still do my television show." And I told him when he came, I said, "You have Cox?" He said, "Yeah, I paid $300. I said, "Well, you can DVR me at 3 o'clock on Sundays, Cox Direct Uverse." So thank all of you all for watching. And yeah, we're still trying to tell you truth. And I have to say, when you go back and look at a lot of my shows, you'll see what I said was truth, even if you didn't agree with me. And that's what the world's about, agreeing to disagree. That's what we have to do. We have to agree to disagree. We shouldn't have all this vitriol going on as it is in America today. I also need to give a shout out to 2 police officers in Baton Rouge. I was going through my Fuji Totes story. You all know about my Fuji's Totes, my patented pillow, one of 6 patented pillows in the country, and the only black patented pillows in the country that God gave me the idea for. We'll have some pictures and commercials up after this. But, and I couldn't get the alarm right. Had too much stuff in my hand, and so it went off. In 5 minutes, these officers were there. And it happened to be me. And I knew 2 of them. They had been there to help me before. It was Pale and Brinson. Brinson, I think was his name. And I told them I was going to give them a shout out. So officers, I thank you for your work, and I thank all the great officers in Baton Rouge and all over this country for what they do for this state, for this country, and to help us out, because the first person you're going to call is the police when there's a problem. So we're going to be talking about things like that today. I have one young gentleman with me, and I have his father. The guest is really the young gentleman. We want his perspective on what's going on. We're going to be talking about the Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group. And come on back. They're doing some great things, lobbying down at the Capitol, and we're going to talk about a lot of the bills that will affect you and what their status is, and see what your beliefs are on those bills. So come on back and hear Chris Alexander and his son, John Christopher, talk about La Cake.
Hello, this is Fuji Totes. I just found out Fuji could not come in with me, so I'm making a little video for you to see how the pillow works with the doggy in it. As you see, Fuji's in here, in the bottom of this. At the end, after I take him out, I'm going to take all the things that are in here with him that you need on a trip, or whether you're just going, for an afternoon, everything you need to take the dog. I have driven all the way to Las Vegas, Nevada, and taken Fuji and my other dog, my multiple, with me with their meds, their leashes, their water cup, and whatever, in one pack, a couple of packs of food are in the bottom of this. By the way, I even have a COVID test. If you think your dog has COVID, it's in the bottom here that you can carry. And I'm going to show you, even with all that in the bottom, he can still lay here and feel nothing. You see him sitting down on it. He can still do that with all the things in there. And I'll show you what was in there. He had a Play-Doh. He had the COVID test, as I laughed about. He has a heavy leash. He has a water bottle. He has some food. And another leash. This pillow only weighs about 3 pounds. So whatever you need in your necessities are for your dog can go in here, along with the dog as you carry him wherever you want to go. To the park. And I'll tell you, sometimes I use this to put things as I go outside. So this is Fuji's Totes. And they are patented. Now, I'm going to show you in the presentation the large pillow. All of these are multifunctional pillows. that can be used for cover-ups, for totes, for luggage. And I'm going to tell you the story how I started Fuji Totes. Fuji was, but anyway, I'll say that personally to you. I don't have to tell you all that now. Thank you.
Thanks for coming back to Dianne Andrews. I see my co-host is here with me, Fuji 2, AKC registered poodle. In fact, a poodle won Best in Show Westminster 2 weeks ago. His grandpa won several years back. So he's a show dog. He's only 8 months old. I had mentioned that John Christopher is with us, and his dad is his chauffeur here. This is attorney Chris Alexander, a very, very good friend of mine, he and his wife, Katie. So I know you have changed careers, and you've really seemed to find your niche with LaCake.
Yeah.
You're a lobbyist down there. I hear about you being down at the state, building all the time, making things happen.
Yeah.
I think you found your niche and your podcast. Tell me about it.
I gotta be honest with you, Dianne. We have been so busy and expanding so rapidly.
Yeah.
And really, our sole focus is just to make sure that the legislation that we support and promote really serves the citizens of the state, and the legislation that we try to defeat, make sure that we need to be defeating it because it would have a bad effect on Louisiana citizens. And one of the things that we're working on, that we're going to continue to work hard on, is the abolition of the individual state income tax.
Right.
$5 billion every year the state generates from individual state income taxes. And
where does it go? Is there an audit that anybody can tell us?
That's a great question. Goes into the general fund, according to State Rep Neil Reiser, who's bringing this legislation to be used for any number of things, and it is, but very often not things that are considered critical infrastructure for the state. A lot of it's squandered, a lot of it's wasted. And Representative
What do you call them? Pig? What do they call them?
Pork barrel.
Pork barrel.
A lot of pork barrel
Yeah,
going in there.
yeah.
But a lot of people think we are taxed to death in this state. It is time for the citizens to get a break.
I hate to say this, but I will. Louisiana was ranked the 50th out of 50 bad states. And I should have brought the poll with me. Don, do you remember the poll? What poll? But you read it also. Yeah. The second year in a row. Don, you got your phone. Google it for me before we get off. We'll find out whose poll that was. But as you said, we're spending all this money. I remember when I was at IBM in New York and other up east, nobody wanted to transfer to Louisiana because, number one, of the education system. That was why back then. Back then at IBM, I'm just the IBM,
right?
Because they knew they were going to pay for private schools. I was in Connecticut at one time. They were ranked like number 3 or 4 in the country. You didn't have to go to private school because the publics were wonderful. So certain states, they're wonderful, but we haven't done anything now. I'm in St. George now. And
I didn't know that you were in St. George.
Oak Hills is St. George. You know, at St. George is 100,000 people, I read. And it's one of the most affluent, it was the most affluent total area in this city area, in this parish, right? Yeah. Is what I read. You got, you know, did Baton Rouge end up keeping the malls and things like that on Bluebonnet? Did they get that? I know they were trying.
So. I don't know for sure, but I think so.
Yeah, for the tax base.
Right, exactly.
But I guess they didn't have to give them that either.
No, they didn't.
Right.
But so are you, Dianne? So you're happy about the St. George result?
I don't want to go through a rigmarole. People say, where do you live? I'm not saying St. George. Oh, well, where's that? Oh, I'm outside Baton Rouge. I will still say Baton Rouge. I'm from Baton Rouge. But it's 8 miles away. And since I don't have children, I've heard people say it's about the school system. I don't know what it's really about. I think a lot of people, a few people, or maybe a lot of people spearheaded it. I didn't even know they were having the election the day they did. And I thought the Mayor Broom here, maybe Baton Rouge didn't do a good job educating on people on why we should stay there and to get out the vote. Isn't that what it's all about?
Yeah,
like Trump said the other day, get the gun owners out to vote. The gun owners are not voting. Why aren't they voting? He said that the other day. He was shocked. He was talking about hunting. Yeah, but they got to get
day. They need to get back or vote early.
That's right.
They got to do it.
That's right, excuse. And that's what he's saying. You know, and Trump is saying vote early. We have to play the game that the liberals play.
And Dianne, I know we're shifting gears here.
Yeah,
for a second,
we're going to talk about some of everything.
But I just want to tell you that we are. But if Trump is going to get back into office, everybody's got to go vote. It's got to be too big to lose.
Too big to rig.
Too
That's
big
what he
to
said
rig.
the other day. It's got to be too big to rig.
Too big to rig. In other words, he wins by so much that they can't steal it.
Because I remember in Philadelphia last time, I went to bed, Trump, when President Trump was 350,000 ahead. I wake up at 7 o'clock and he's 350,000 behind. I said, that's 700,000. What happened?
It wasn't all on the up and up.
I don't believe it.
I'm telling you, it wasn't all on the up and up.
I can tell you at a lot of the COVID issues, and I remember 2 years ago when Carrie Lake and some other people were running for office in Arizona.
Against Hobbs.
Oh my God, the woman can't even speak.
Absolute disaster.
She's an idiot. But what do people do? What did we just talk about before the show started? They put people in, what is she? She's a woman. Okay. Give me a black woman, a brown woman, or a white woman. Give me, and there's nothing wrong, LGBTQ, if that's who you are, that's who you are. I've done many shows. I had a gay white guy debate a black Baptist minister. I didn't know King James was supposed to be gay until I did that show. and I learned a lot. I mean, people have to be who they are.
And was it civil?
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. Pretty much. And then I had an atheist debate a black Baptist, white atheist debate a black Baptist. I've done some shows.
I would love to have seen that.
Oh, that was great. It was good. And I tell you, if I had not been a religious person, he made you think. This young white guy from LSU.
And it's interesting, and if you're not grounded in your faith and what you believe and really understand what's going on, sometimes they can persuade you. And I always like hearing the opposite side.
Right. See, yeah.
You know, like the question they always ask, Diane, it's like, so if God is real and God is good, why does evil exist in the world? Why is all these bad things happening in the world?
Because the devil is just as big.
They always ask that question. It's an answerable question.
Right, it is answerable, but it's true.
You know what you're talking about? You know what? He's a good God. Why is he allowing all this bad stuff to happen?
Right.
And people who don't think through the issues can be thrown off by that.
That's right. But Lucifer was one of the top angels.
And guess what? Yeah, exactly.
In your opinion, why does all the evil and stuff exist?
Well, because most...
Thanks, co-host.
If you don't have an answer, I want to try to answer.
I'd be happy to defer to you on that question because that is the perennial question, John Christopher, that everybody asks. If God is good and benevolent and protective, why do all these bad things happen?
I'm going to try to answer that and say because God wants to give us a full relationship with Him, and it comes through trusting, even through trials, even through things that are really difficult. That's when our faith in Him is purified, is when we go through those struggles, because our relationship doesn't mean anything. With Him, our relationship doesn't mean anything if it's all just good. But it's those times where really bad things happen, we think there's a lot of evil. There's been a lot of darkness in my life, and some evil things. And those are the most important parts. If it was all good, there'd be no point to that relationship. That's.
But how did you come through it, John Christopher?
Better.
What gave you the strength to come through the darkness?
Yeah, good question.
What gave me the strength? Well, definitely God, 100%. Just accepting His love, that He's real. Getting really real with, how I'm so lost.
You're so young to have so much wisdom. How are you now, John?
23. I'm about to be 23. But I went through some stuff, and but
you're better, and that's the most. We all go through some stuff,
right?
And the key is just to keep on keeping on, as the old adage says. Keep on keeping on,
and to be
stay
honest
stronger.
And to be honest with you, not to interrupt you, but you are the absolute ultimate personification of keeping on, keeping on. You are the absolute essence of optimism. And being around you, it's infectious. And I'm saying that because I've observed it and I've seen it. It's like the energy level, the passion for what you do, it just always comes across.
I thank you so much for that. In my documentary, Mr. David Watley, who desegregated Faraday High, who should be known. And that's why I want Silver Dollar Group, The Klan is the documentary that I made of some shows I did.
Oh, John Christopher was talking about that on the way over here. Will you tell him about what that is? Because didn't you were looking at that on the way over, the Ku Klux?
What is it? I saw that on the website.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Ku Klux Klan?
Yeah.
We've upgraded the documentary. I was telling you it won at the National Whistleblowers last year, it won the People's Choice Award, and at African American Women in Film and Cinema last year, but now we've I've re-edited it, and we're trying to get it on Amazon or Prime or something, because it's really, really good. The story you don't know much about. The editor of the Concordia Sentinel, which is in Faraday, white guy, Stanley Nelson.
Where Jimmy Swaggart's from?
Right, Jimmy Swaggart. They've got a wax museum there with Jimmy and Ricky or something. What was it?
Who's the guy who owned Billy Bob's over in Fort Worth, Texas? What was his name?
No, it was Galveston. The guy with the bucking horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was him.
They're
all
Billy Bob.
cousins.
But
They're cousins.
Mickey Gilley.
Yeah, Mickey Gilley.
And then who was the third one?
He was a singer.
Hugely, he was huge.
Yeah, it's three of them. They're all from Little Town of Faraday.
Is it Jerry Lee Lewis?
Jerry Lee Lewis, that's his name, isn't it? It's Jerry Lee Lewis. I think,
all
yeah.
cousins.
Yeah, and they're first cousins, and they were born there right in Faraday.
Right
Now
in
I think Jimmy was born somewhere else, and his father moved him back to Faraday because Jimmy Swaggart said he didn't want to go, but he met his wife there. But they have a wax museum. They have a blues museum there. It's really nice in Faraday. In Faraday, I did the Silver Dollar Group, a lot of the Klan documentary there in Faraday. But Mr. Watley was 20 years old. They couldn't find anybody to desegregate Faraday High. And they got him to his grandmother. He lived with his grandmother. She said, if you want to do it, I'll support you. And he did it. It is amazing what happened to him there. They tried to blow up her house. They tried to bomb him. The Congress of Racial Equality came and they took him to school, but they couldn't go in. Just like little Ruby Bridges, I guess, down in New Orleans. She became very famous. I guess because this was Faraday, nobody knows Mr. Watley, but they should. What he did, and
Did he risk his life?
Yes. Yes, they tried to bomb his house, his grandmother's house with them in it. But the bomb didn't designate. And also Deborah Taylor, her father was the one who tried to kill him. I had them come meet. They never met in Faraday. She was white, of course. Her father was the Klan member who tried to kill him. And then we went out another guy, Frank Morris, which is in the FBI files, was a guy who owned a shoe shop. He could make a shoe, black guy. Had a shoe shop there, repaired the only one in that area for 30, 40 years. Wow. He stopped doing the sheriff's bidding, stopped doing the shoes. 2 or 3 days later, he's burned to a crisp inside that building. I went to the grave. We call it the grave site. I went out there to that, and we filmed out there with Stanley Nelson, the guy, the editor of the Concordia. His book, Devil's Walking, is a Pulitzer Prize nominated book. It's an amazing story, and I'm not saying that because it's mine. It really is about people. David Watley also went to Vietnam and got Agent Orange and lost a leg.
Wait, the same guy who desegregated the school in Faraday is a Vietnam War veteran?
Yes, and nobody knew him. And so,
you told that story?
Oh, yes, it's with the Silver Dollar Group of the Klan. Yes, I'm getting ready to feature the new one. We're doing it at the Bacage Rotary in a couple of weeks. We're doing the Silver Dollar Group of the Klan.
Wow.
And it is an amazing story. I love history. I love knowing truth to fact. Let me tell you, I'm writing my sixth book, and this is here and there, but I didn't know. If I asked people who was responsible for the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and if you had asked me before I read this 2 years ago, everybody thought it was Democrats and Johnson, right? But it wasn't. You know, you're a Republican. I wasn't always a Republican. Remember, we're born Democrat. Black people are born Democrat, and we change on the way.
Because you're always learning and growing.
Yes.
Democrats actually tried to kill it.
25 Dixiecrats in the South filibustered for 11 days, the longest in the history of this country. Eric Dirksen, it was 40-60 in the Senate, Democrats' favor. Eric Dirksen, over the minority whip, over the 40, got every Republican to sign that bill. The 25 Dixiecrats did not sign. That is how it got signed. And Johnson said, blacks are gonna vote for Democrats the next 100 years. Wait, he didn't say blacks.
No,
he said niggers.
He used another word.
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So, but black people don't know that history. I didn't know that history. I'm pretty informed.
Strom Thurmond was fighting against it.
Right. He was one of the Dixiecrats.
Yeah.
25 white Southern Dixiecrats. It would not have been signed for one for Eric Dirksen. I went and heard his speech. You can go and hear it, going back and listen to it. Yeah. He was one of the best orators ever in the Senate.
I've got a great quote book from Everett Dirksen.
Do you?
Dianne, I love reading about him and his quotes.
Oh, wow.
Such a powerful
What state was he from?
Illinois.
Really? Now you got Pritzker up there running it in the ground.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. What you said a little while ago, Diane, really struck me about how you look at some of the big cities,
Yes.
and many of them are led by women, often minority women,
Mostly
or
blacks.
gay men, and mostly
the top
and mostly
10 cities,
African-American.
I think 7 are black.
Yeah.
Chicago, L.A., New York, Houston. Dallas is black, but he changed from Democrat to Republican. I told you. Atlanta, black woman. Baltimore, black woman. We've got New Orleans here, black woman.
And they're not really being run all that well, from what I can see.
And it's not just the last 4 years. Democrat-run cities in Chicago has been probably for the last 75 years, I would think. What was it? The guy, the mayor that everybody was so afraid of in Chicago for years and years and years. What was his name?
And it was before Rahm Emanuel.
Oh, way before.
Way before Rahm Emanuel. I just can't think of his name right now.
But they're known, and I don't know if this is a true story or not, but Pete Lasavi, do you say you know Pete?
Yeah, I know Pete.
Yeah, Pete's a very, very good friend of mine.
Yeah.
I've known Pete since I've been here. And Pete was reading this book, and he told me about the book. And it said, I don't know the name of it, but he told me about it when Kennedy was running in the 60s, right? And everybody knows his father was a liquor runner, right?
Oh, yeah,
what they call him,
bootlegger.
rum runner or something. And bootleg, I guess, is what it was called back then. But he said that that people, and probably the mafia, took $100,000 to major cities in the country, to the sheriff's office, who handles elections, in cash, and told them, you will get this if Kennedy wins, and you will get $100,000 more after the election. And whoever wrote that book, I don't know, I didn't get deep into it with Pete, but whoever wrote that had done a lot of investigation on stealing elections.
And if none of that had happened, Nixon's our president.
Right. I didn't know Nixon was supposed to be such a good guy. I didn't know he was a Navy admiral, Navy officer, I guess, and really did some good things for black people. Now, you know who's really underspoken? Eisenhower. Eisenhower sent troops, what was that, in the 50s? Down to Arkansas, when that little black girl was trying to go to school.
That was
Eisenhower, and he was the one who said about the industrial complex.
Military and warning against it.
Right. That don't let it get too big, which is gigantic now.
Right, because now it's a money-making racket.
You know what I wonder? You've been to you said you go to a Marines military school, right?
I went to a college preparatory school.
Yeah. I wonder, we used to have a lot of military presidents. Nixon, Kennedy even, Eisenhower. I wonder if it was better. Does that show more about a man? I don't know. Or a woman? I don't know.
Certainly doesn't hurt to have that on the resume.
Yeah.
My gosh.
But was our country run better then? I don't know.
Yeah. Certainly people who have been through warfare, people who understand how horrific war is, are much more circumspect and reflective before they commit young men and women to go fight and die.
And look what has happened to us in Afghanistan, and then now the Taliban's running it, and we were in there 30 years almost and lost all those lives and money, and more so maimed. These people were maimed so badly.
It's a tragedy.
It is.
In Iraq.
Iraq, same thing.
You know, Trump, they talk about Trump, Diane, being this totalitarian. I want to get your opinion on this, too. They talk about Trump being this totalitarian monster.
What did he do?
What exactly has he done? He kept us out of war.
That's right.
Which is a huge part of the deal.
He got rid of ISIS, which this what made me start my show when Obama said ISIS is a JV team. I'm thinking, what is wrong with him? JV team, junior varsity, ISIS, they're killing people all over the Middle East. But I went back, and I'm going to let John Christopher answer his opinion on this. But I was looking, and I love history, as I've said, but I didn't know that in 1977, when Carter went in, we started trying to get the Shah out of Iran. Who's the Ayatollah Khomeini was in exile. We helped him come back into that country in 1979. Did you know that? Look that up. The World Health Organization has deemed our land down there, because there is no border, our southern land that divides us from from Mexico as the worst, they're calling it border in the world, which means we're borderless. And almost 10 million people we know have come across this border. They're trying to put this on Donald Trump about the bill they had at the beginning of the year. But that bill said, yes, they would fund more money for the agents working, but more people are coming in, so they need them. They're babysitters down there. They're not doing their jobs as they want to do their jobs. But that bill said that after 5,000 a day, which is what is coming in right now, in the last month or two, it was 1 month, it was 250,000 this year. Couple of months. They expect 3 million just this year. Everybody's trying to come now just in case our guy gets back in.
Exactly, because I think, Diane, I will tell you, I really believe that all this is by design.
Oh, no doubt.
I think the Biden administration wants as many people to come in here because they view it as a potential way to perpetuate their power by turning them into voters.
Right.
That's what they want to do.
New York, I think illegals can vote in local elections.
In local and municipal elections right now.
In New York, they can. And so before it's over, they'll be voting in national. And who's gonna keep up with it? Nobody. They'll probably vote with national anyway in a lot of places.
Yeah. But here in our state now, there's legislation pending that will require anybody who tries to go register to vote to present proof of United States citizenship, or they will not be allowed to register to vote, or they will not be allowed to vote in any Louisiana federal election here in this state.
You know, I bet some of the illegals sue. Over in Denver, they're suing for different things.
Stranger things have happened. You'd think
this
it's
is
pretty
amazing.
straightforward.
Yeah, that these people suing. Why don't you go home? Let me tell you, being black, what did we do for America? We stayed and we fought. We fought the system. And I've said this for years. I said, why don't people stay in their own countries and fight for the system? I don't understand why they don't.
Well, they're being subsidized by big billionaires to come here.
Right.
Have you seen some of the people coming through our border? They got a cell phone, they got cash in their
God.
pocket. They're getting on buses, they're being put up in hotels. What would
Pakistan, I did something on a show I did with Claston, and we talked about in New York, they're spending $300-400 a night on in hotels. It's the Waldorf.
Yeah.
And those hotels, they're not even owned by Americans anymore. I think one of them was a Pakistani guy.
Exactly.
Probably a friend of Biden's giving them money. So the rich people are getting richer.
6 here.
That's right. No. And they get $64 a day to eat. I can eat off $6 or $7. Go to Taco Bell.
I mean, that's pretty generous.
Right.
I'd want to come here too.
Let me tell you, it was a black guy. He was the manager at one of the fine hotels, the Waldorf, it wasn't the Ritz, one of them, the Waldorf or one for some of them where they're staying up there in New York City. He went on, I think it was Fox or Newsmax, and he showed their rooms. It looked like a slaughter pen, and they have a hot plate in there, and they give them, the hamburgers and our American food. They don't eat that, they throw it away, half eaten in the trash. Take it down to the hood or some trailer parks and give it to people, right, if you don't want it. And they just threw it away, and they bring in burritos, and there's nothing wrong with eating what you want to eat if you're on country, but don't throw our stuff away. And they fired him the next week when he showed what was happening in these hotels.
They fired him for showing the
black guy, the manager,
truth.
the housing.
Exposing the truth. So the worst thing anybody can do in this country right now is, as far as these people go, is speak the truth.
Yeah.